Right, we're back. Ah, finally. For some reason, my recording software had a particularly tough time actually capturing today. It was not fun. Normally, I load the game straight from the base game menu, which loads the mod, of course, asking first, and then doing so automatically. Oh yeah, right, I can't even build any improvements on this tile because auroras make it impossible to build in the tile for, I don't know. But yes, my normal method of bringing the game up is to just try to straight load the save file, which prompts the game notifying me that it requires a mod in order to function. Would you like to load this mod up? Yes, and then it just loads the game up. No troubles at all. Which is actually quite nice when in how quickly it handles things. However, sometimes things get annoying and the recording software doesn't like it. So I've turned it off and on, both it and the game, multiple times, until I figured out that I just unload the mod, then load the mod without loading the game through another portion of the menu, and then it finally captured after about 10 seconds of waiting on the C2C opening screen. And it finally worked. Okay, now that I'm actually mining geodes, which are nice. Let's handle some other stuff. Inevitably, it's just going to be mountains, isn't it? Yeah, because that's not within city borders, because there's a town here that's doing that. It's a wetlands camp that I do need to replace eventually, but yeah. I guess I can put a farm on the tile. But it's not being worked. It's unlikely to be worked for a while. Eh, fine. Right. Your task is to deal with all the reefs going all the way up to here. And then finding convenient spot to plop down some fishing boats. Probably not next to Carib though. Because if there's this here, then I'll remember to actually handle it. With the new workboat, which I should actually just build right now so I don't forget about it. There you are. I'll get to the ballroom, don't worry about it. I'm sure it's fine, we'll just do that. Oh, free dance. Neat. I'm not building a pasture. Wait. No. Ah, so you do need a marsupial. Yeah. Whenever possible, I will work coastal provinces rather than in any other provinces. They're just easier to reach. Nah. They're just easier to reach, first off, and second off, and probably more importantly, they have higher yields, so it just makes sense to do those. Okay. Even the one that isn't in city borders, I can build a lighthouse there, and I will do so. Not even barbs erase lighthouses. Like, that's just awful. And yeah, if the barbs don't do it, it just shows how bad of an idea it is in general. Okay, I can build a straw gatherer first. Before building the guild hall. I guess. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, you know what? And the elephant farm. The automation clock is... Okay, so +6 over 15 turns. I can do the cannon maker, but that's where it falls off. So then the apprentice workshop. Never mind. Do the workhouse first. Then the cannon maker. Then the apprentice workshop. I want to be effective here. The earlier I get all the production that the city needs done, the earlier I can get to building all the fun stuff. Which is why I'm being so precise about it. Is it prime to No. Okay. So don't need to worry about that. Carriage builder. Automation clock. Clockwork workshop. 12 turns. Okay, so I can do the 6-turn stuff. Lumber mill. And then 7-turn stuff. That should be fine. Okay, these. Shop. I don't trust trade buildings to be accurate, so. Don't forget the slaughterhouse. I need a grammaticus. Yeah, I need to do the setup necessary in order to actually build that. The city itself, I don't think has fresh water, so aqueduct. There we go. I think those are the necessities for a grammaticus. Not for a lyceum. I mean, it also needs to be connected to my trade network, but that's not nearly as important as the other stuff. Right, your task is to handle all the tiles that could be worked by Garapon. You know, the ones that don't actually consume the unit. Although then again, I can't do this. This, I know for a fact, is out of reach, as is this. I don't need to worry about those. But this tile is actively being worked, so... Oh, so one of the cities was missing. Was it... Was I thinking about the... Was it Hilo that just had that? Or was it... Was that some unit that I moved to that northern city on? Visanesia. Oh. Okay, so the city's planted on a coal deposit. Interesting. Another bear. So yeah, for some more recording trivia, I guess, since that's the theme we're going for now. Although then again, we're 10 minutes in, so I can always just pivot.
It is not the strongest of the species that survive, but the one most responsive to change.
Okay, I'm gonna pivot to social Darwinism, but I want to do some stuff. Wait. Oh wait, that was just the amphibian stuff. Yeah, biology is big because it means I can get 5 signs from all the remains I've picked up. I mean, sure, I only have like Haas Eagle in a few cities, as well as the Moa, the direwolf in a couple cities, and the thylacine literally everywhere, but that's still a decent amount of size. Also, farms have 1 more food, universities gives +5 food, and community gardens now have another 5 food. And universities have another scientist slot. All in all, my science spiked by a few thousand, which is still sizable. Like, I'd say approximately 10% increase. Anyway, I was thinking of a song for the classical era drawing time lapse, and if you're wondering, but I did that, I did that ages ago, right? Well, uploaded it, yes. The thing is, at the time of recording this, this is, well, before that. It's in the past of, this recording is in the past of me actually doing the drawing itself. Yes, I'm all the way in Renaissance. Yes, this is probably releasing months later. I don't know the exact numbers because I don't keep track of every single number that is involved, and I'm cycling through things again, aren't I? Ooh. Fine, I can build a throne room here. Oh jeez, my tax office minus 10% maintenance. Okay. That should get you up to a reasonable standard by the time you're done. And if not, well, I've got plenty of buildings to build. Anyway, I was looking for a specific song for the classical era, and I could have because it's a great song, and I constantly heard it while playing Civ 4. But for the life of me, I could not find where it was within the files. This is not helped by the fact that while the classical era exists, in the base game. Okay, just leave it. Yes, it exists in the base game, the classical era. However, it's a weird thing with the files where all the classical era music is actually called Ancient Era Soundtrack, and it all plays in the Ancient Era too. Which leads me to believe that while there are preferred songs for each era, they can bleed into other eras if there's not enough to choose from, or you're particularly close to it. But yeah, I couldn't for the life of me find it. And I remember distinctly because it was an amazing song that always played whenever I started playing Fall from Heaven, Age of Ice. Yeah, so after looking around for hours, I thought, hey, maybe it's one of those songs. And yes, it was. In fact, give me a moment. I can actually find it within the files, so this will cut the game off too. Let's see. If I go to mods, Fall from Haven, Nature's Eyes, assets, Sounds, soundtrack. I think it's this one? Okay, that's unreasonably loud, sorry. Yeah, this one. It's in the files. It's called Conquest Fantasy 1. I think the actual Fall from Heaven 2 mod has it as well. Yeah, the one that isn't bundled with the um, Beyond the Sword. Soundtrack. Second a moment to load. Okay, they do have a lot of music and it does seem to be a Civ specific. Maybe religion specific? Please tell me it's in there somewhere. Because Octa soundtrack is just Octa 1, 2, 3. No, it's not in that either. I mean, it's a bit rough with no visuals happening, but hey, enjoy the nice music. Okay. No, it's not. Unless it's named something else, it's not in here. It's actually kind of sad because I do greatly enjoy the song. Okay, let's turn it off. I was hoping to put that to use, and I might, because technically there are no base game classical sound. There's no base game classical soundtrack, which is a very fun thing to learn. Oh, now it expands there. Neat. Okay. That was extremely convenient with the timing, but okay. Yeah. And admittedly, I don't. There are only 4 classical era songs in C2C's soundtrack, which is funny because that's also the number of ancient soundtracks in base game Civ 4. And as far as I can tell, the expansions don't actually add any songs, I don't think. At least as far as I can tell from the files. What else was there to say? Yeah, I don't like 2 of the songs. And the other 2 are not nearly as good as Conquest Fantasy 1. I mean, of course, I could draw without knowing the song, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem as nice. And this is one of those cases where it's actually tougher for me to figure out a song to play because, well, for the simple fact that I need to do this. If I want to do it like this for the entire time, how many ages are there again? 5? I need to do this 13 times. Which is not exactly easy. Normally I could just go with like a title theme, something approaching a title theme, or otherwise a song from the general soundtrack that I like. But here I have a much reduced set of songs to work with. Although sometimes it's easier to handle the songs than others, like oh yeah, that Mars Corporation game that I played. I did a playthrough of one time for their campaign mode, or the closest equivalent to a campaign mode. That was fun to work with because I had no access to the actual game files. I did not want to try and decompile the application. So I just set it on the main menu screen, timed it as closely as I could, and just recorded with no feed and then with all the windows turned off. So it was just a black screen, and then just convert into an MP3 file to save space. So that's how I got the title theme for that drawing time lapse. Which wasn't really that big of a deal anyway, because literally all the music in the game is basically runs a copyright, is flagged as copyrighted by YouTube. Literally all of it. So that's also part of the reason why I haven't really played the game on camera again, because I don't want to potentially deal with issues like that. Like, I'm largely doing this out of, well, I'm not going to go into reasons why I do the recording channel thing, but simply put, I don't want legal issues of any kind. Because that usually turns into a mess. So, to put it succinctly, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. But I digress completely. Yeah, every other time that I've done a drawing time lapse, I've either known or at least took the time beforehand to check to find what song I want to use. Like for the Victoria 3 one, I didn't actually have access to the game while recording the drawing time lapse. I just quickly grabbed it from the game. I just knew what song I wanted because I had listened through the entire OST beforehand to pick out a good song that matched the picture that I wanted, and it worked pretty well. And then yeah, I mean for M&T I always do the title theme because that's very M&T. And unlike say a third of the songs on their soundtrack, YouTube has no problem with it, so. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the C2C soundtrack also has a couple issues with copyright, but I haven't done enough of. I haven't uploaded enough to know exactly how much. I mean, I do know that some of the ancient and prehistoric songs are definitely annoying them. Actually, no. Jeez. This is the correct order, because I might as well. There we go. Yikes. Chemistry. Just get to. And the post office too. That one's a good one. And you know what? I'll just do Blood Hunters as one immediately. It's very quick to build. So there's neat. Okay. Oh hey, the city's about to finish this queue. I was thinking that, oh hey, Atlanteanism, I probably should build a temple or two since that improves science. Okay, let's remove your terrain movement costs. Yeah. In case you're wondering, yes, this whole channel thing is a one-person operation. I do stuff myself. The music is definitely not mine. I grab it from the games that I play. One way or another. I mean, I figure since it's the drawing timelines that are also directly associated with the games that I'm going to be playing, it's fine and probably falls under fair use since I'm not gonna use that thumbnail outside of, referencing the game somehow. And usually in short order too. Okay, you need an entertainer. Where is the entertainer? There you are. Should also do the science buttons. Get a canine enclosure eventually. So I figure, unless the people that made the game don't want it on YouTube, it should be fine. And to be honest, I figure so long as less than 1,000 people watch, copyright issue of any kind will kind of be moot anyway? Maybe? And this is part and parcel to why I don't like the copyright system generally. I'd much prefer a system of, well, cite where it's from and continue. A bit more like how the academia handles it. It's okay to use others' work so long as you say that I got it from here. And oftentimes, it's good enough. In fact, almost every time it's good enough, because that's how academia works. It's about spreading knowledge around, discovering new things, combining things in order to expand our body of knowledge. Or at least that's how it's supposed to work. There's a reason why I'm not a part of academia. Okay, multiple reasons, but I'm particularly glad I'm not a part of it for how office politics it can get. Although, yeah. I mean, humans are humans and will continue to be humans, regardless of which situation we put that in. And that's not going to change. Especially with how social structures often like to set themselves up. Even in the modern day. Anyway, how does this go from picking a music to copyright issues? Let's go with something less controversial. Let's start ranting about evolution. Okay, so I can bring up the biology quote again for people that have forgotten the last. How long has it been? 20 minutes? So, as Charles Darwin said, is not the strongest of the species that survive, but the one most responsive to change. This is in direct response to how a lot of people adjusted what he said into Oh, it grew into a forest. Okay. Neat. Now I just gotta wait on that tile. How, a lot of people shortened his theory into survival of the fittest. Which is a fairly good level to start off at, but can very easily become something very, very incorrect, which is, like, as he mentioned, survival of the strongest. And yeah, that misinterpretation became very popular among certain groups of people. Usually the kind of people that had a lot of gain from mischaracterizing it in that way. Yeah, enter social Darwinism, which is one of said mischaracterizations.
Man's unique reward, however, is that while animals survive by adjusting themselves to their background, man survives by adjusting his background to himself.
Rand. Counterexample. Are beavers considered man now? Do we need to start getting them to pay taxes and giving them citizenships because they build dams to dam up rivers? Oh, yeah, I can start constructing zoos and taxidermists now. The zoos replace the menagerie, and practically any animal can build them. Which also makes it much easier to start doing the exclosures, because I don't need to wait for, like, copy or a donkey or something. Which is why I'm saving those for another time, because eventually I'll be able to send it along. Oh, the pet store can have an international dog show. Neat. Anyway. Cormorant trainer. Oh, okay. Well, that's news to me. And pet shop. Of course, a zoo doesn't let me build everything, but yeah. The whole survival of the strongest thing. Enter social Darwinism, which was the idea of trying to explain human social structures through the use of the concept of evolution. This led to a number of things, like the idea that competition is extremely prominent in evolution. Way more prominent than it actually is. Competition's a lot, yes, but it ain't everything. There was a large degree of importance. There is a large degree of importance in evolution. Yes, I cannot deny that. However, yeah. Okay, just convert that all. It's not everything. Because a very certain set of people have a lot to gain by characterizing everything as competition. Well, maybe not even gain. That's just how they perceive the world. Which is very, very sad, if I'm being honest. Like, the only thing they know is how to compete with other people. They don't know much about cooperation. Working with other people. That's honestly... Yeah. Makes it very easy to start feeling sorry for them. Because, you know, what did they have to go through for that to be the norm for them? But yeah, cooperation is a huge, huge aspect in evolution. I mean, what do social species do but cooperate with each other? That's literally the reason why social species exist in the first place. Because cooperating with others turns to what is basically the Civ 4 replaceable parts quote. Let me find replaceable parts. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. I mean, sure, it was spoken by Aristotle, who I have my own grievances with, but still, it is true. But still, it is true. Cooperation is a big deal. That's why bees are so plentiful, despite their entire deal being just flight, a bit of fuzziness, long-term food storage, that is, by the way, useless if you can't defend against, which is part of why cooperation is so common among a lot of bees. Ooh, falconry school. Along with some other factors. Oh, and a stinger that, when used, kills them. Which doesn't make sense under most circumstances, I'll tell you straight. Suicide attacks rarely work well, and if evolution has pushed a species towards using those, well, something odd is going on. Or at the very least, something very interesting. But it goes part and parcel to why, as yet another example for why cooperation works. After all, being willing and able to use suicide attacks is quite an interesting aspect for a species. Because it means that the willingness for them to defend themselves, you know, it makes it so that predators are less willing to attack the species because suicide attacks are by their very nature usually extremely destructive. Because otherwise they wouldn't be worth it. It just goes to show how powerful cooperation is. Because through one small sacrifice, it makes the entire species safer from at least one predator, if not more if they properly react to, well, that. Oh hey, right when I built the mine I got sapphires. Or finished roading or whatever. Should I? Oh, there's a forest here that just got into the borders. Okay. And I can, of course, use it. So, use it I will. Yeah, the zoos are definitely increasing my science. But yeah, cooperation is a big deal, and this whole concept of competition in and among species is overplayed among most popular conceptions of evolution. There's like I forgot the name of the species, but the bird that does dentistry in Africa. Like, it does something ludicrously ill-advised under most circumstance, goes into a predator's mouth, and then goes out unscathed, usually. Because, well, tooth problems are really, really common among large animals for, you know, entirely reasonable things. I don't think I have to go into detail. I don't want to go into particular detail. But yes, those birds go around and eat the various parasites and clean up the teeth of a lot of large animals. And in exchange, um, they don't get eaten. Not unless the creature is particularly desperate for a meal. Which usually results in that creature no longer getting any dental services for the rest of their life. For obvious reasons, this is an entirely desperate act, so it does not happen very often. Because the birds know well enough to communicate to each other when this particular creature is actually dangerous and should not be flown into. Or, well, better put, should not be interacted with. Yeah, that's much better. And the fact of the matter is, if all of evolution were just competition, something like that would not have evolved. Yeah, sure, fine. That's close to 1 gold per science. Oh yeah, that's right. I should wake you guys up and start distributing you. Okay, so there's enough in the foundry tree. It's cost to be open to all of it. Aha! I found the number that I put to sleep. Okay. On accident. Yeah. Plus, if it were really just about strength, then we would just have all large animals. And nothing but those. Which is clearly not how it is. Okay. Let me pick one specific one to mesh with these and start the rebuilding process. Now, the options are too far away to really be worth it, and I get enough animals as it is for it, again, to not really be a problem. You know what? Forest. Not to mention, other things.
Requires patient labor and attention. Plans Plants do not grow merely to satisfy ambitions or to fulfill good intentions. They thrive because someone expended effort on them.
Nah, I need to build as many arboretums as possible because they are just that good. 160 base science is a lot. Even for a compounding building like it is, that's still a great deal of science. So I absolutely should build those whenever possible. Okay, I wouldn't mind this tundra, but there's that peak, but... I mean, it's not even using the other mountain mine yet. Probably will eventually. But for now, it's not reasonable. It's only reasonable to build up as many tiles as it's willing to work. If it's not willing to work all the tiles, then there's no reason to actually upgrade. Like, this city is working all the tiles it can. There is great reason to take the time and build fishing boats. This city absolutely, and Assyria definitely needs improvement. So does Cabos. It's run out of things. Although I really shouldn't touch that tile until I have paleontology, which I will get after I research liberalism. It's going to be the free tech that I take. And besides, it's the most expensive tech possible without researching liberalism first. Well, that and hot air balloon, but hot air balloon isn't actually that useful when I can save it for first building things that are actually useful. But yeah, if evolution were just competition, so many paths would not have been reached. We would not have mitochondria in the first place because that was formed out of a cooperation between a larger cell that could, well, a small cell that figured out an extremely efficient pathway to generating ATP from glucose. Nowadays, it's partially known as respiration. Well, it's one of the forms of respiration, which is why practically every animal needs to breathe oxygen. Because it's just that good. The smaller cell, and then the larger cell that engulfs it finds the food for it, uses up some of the excess glucose produced, and protects it from any predators, like it would have been if it didn't decide not to actually digest the creature, the microbe. We wouldn't have. We wouldn't have complex cells. Heck, and that goes for multicellular animals too. We're all just a bunch of cells that have, for hundreds of thousands of years, decided it would just be better to work together as a unit rather than all individually, creating a large complex animal that can interact inside the macroscopic world. And that is what we do. To the point where we can even adjust the environment as we please. There are a lot of cell specializations. Evolution is an extremely complex system that also is entirely reliant on random chance too. Don't forget about that. That's part of what makes it so hilarious that people say, oh, look at this perfection. How could random chance do this? And then I just point to, and then you can just point to something like, oh, some weird plumbing circumstance that only makes sense through the lens of thousands of years of differences. Like, let's see here. The okay, let's go with that. Yeah. So testicles, the male sexual organs that do the the gonads that fulfill the male role for the gonads. Um, they have a tube that connects them to the urinary tract, so that under the right circumstances, sperm can be excreted out of there. Now you would expect them to go up a bit and just under the skin to the urinary tract. But no. The thing is, that only makes sense now because of its current position. A long, long time ago, it was in a different spot, namely internal. Back then, they were internal because, of course, they're pretty fragile. However, the reason why they became external is because they require a specific temperature level to maximize efficiency in, well, splitting, in generating the seed cells properly. And, well, it used to be when we were cold-blooded that there was no way to really regulate the temperature, so it was just generally helpful to have it internal, because it kept things safe. Of course, once we started, well, becoming warm-blooded, this changed. We could actually regulate our own temperature, but the preferred temperature was higher than the testes' preferred temperature, so they went external. The thing is, none of the piping changed. When they were internal, they were sitting at approximately the same position as the ovaries, so inside the hips. When they went down, the thing is, the tubes went in front of the hip bones, or at least in front of one of the bones in the hip. So now they go up into the hip, around a bone, and then down. If you were designing a human from scratch, or heck, any mammalian animal, or warm-blooded animal in general, although I'm not sure, I think birds are different. Yeah, I think their resting temperature is actually lower than mammals, but I don't know. It's definitely true for mammals, though. If you were designing a mammal from scratch, intelligent design, you would not do this. Because that is a ridiculously fragile organ that needs to be protected. At least that's how it is for when it comes to considerations that evolution goes through. Okay, so first, yeah. So yeah, intelligent design. No. Believing that life is so perfect that it has to be designed is deluding yourself to all the imperfections that life has. All the weird stuff that any designer worth their salt would not have put in. Because it just doesn't make sense. Which is also part of the fun. Because it doesn't have to make sense for something to exist. It could also just be random chance. And a surprising amount of evolution is exactly like that. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense, and yet it happened. Because it either wasn't it's either not that big of a deal, or whatever gene caused it happened to be riding along with something else that was itself useful in some way. And it just needs to be useful in the moment, too, which is what makes it extra fun. It doesn't need to be practical down the line. If it causes long-term issues, who cares? It just needs to be practical in the moment. And that can trip up people. Because you're assigning undue amounts of agency to something that literally happens by random chance. It's how the world works. There's a lot of luck and there's literally random chance baked into it. What else can you say about quantum mechanics? It is, by its nature, a system of randomness, and there's nothing we can really do about it. Except make better guesses. And of course, that's why classical physicists had a conniption when quantum mechanics became a thing. What do you mean, even with our grandest of models and all that? We can just say that this is probably what happens? How can we call ourselves scientists if we just roll the dice every time? Simply put, there's a lot more randomness involved than a lot of people are willing to admit. And that's okay that it is random. It's fine. The problem is when people take random chance and say, oh, but it was always so. Unless they have a very good reason, and the explanation works pretty well, which is what evolution does, then it just becomes a just so story. I guess I'll heal people. I never thought I'd run into the situation where I run out of things to promote. Run out of promotions, of all things. But honestly, it's not that bad. It's actually quite entertaining. Yeah, let's do some stuff in the city. Give it time to do some actual building. Because, and also, makes it very easy to look past various injustices as, oh, it's always been that way. Slavery has been a thing for a very long time. And yet, if we had not started questioning that, we might still have it today. But people did go ahead and question it. Same with Divine Right. Actually, Divine Right might actually be a much better thing for this. Because people basically got given the job of ruling a country, depending on who they were born to. Which feels all kinds of wrong nowadays, even if it still happens. This sort of nepotism is still really common, scarily so even. The amount of times people get a better position because of, you know, who they were born to. It is silly when it hovers over water for a fire. The lime maker is destroyed. Not a... No, it's not a production building. Okay, then it's not that important. I can deal with it at my leisure. Oops. I'm gonna need to fix that. That has existed for so long that the accident of birth decided your end trajectory in life. At least in large part. If you were not born in some sort of nobility or royalty, accepting exceptional circumstances, you're probably going to be a peasant or some sort of urban laborer for the rest of your life. Even if you were in an excellent position, and by all means were more competent than anyone else that could possibly have the position, like a genius of some kind, you would not be able to get much further up the social tree. And it's even worse with an actual caste system like India has, which is, well, sort of has. It's technically outlawed, but untouchables still get treated the same way. Simply out of accident of birth. And this sort of thing is the kind of thing I very much dislike. For so many reasons. And I still dislike it today, because it still happens even in supposedly enlightened countries. It's just that you need to be born rich instead of born to someone in royalty or with a title. It's the same thing all over again, and yet somehow different. But yeah, social Darwinism basically took that and said, oh, it's this way because we rich people, rich and powerful people, are just naturally more suited. We are fitter and stronger than all the other people in society. Which really should throw a lot of alarm bells for a lot of people nowadays, especially since egalitarianism has become so much more common, thankfully, and has started to become, at least to some degree, the default thought process for some people. It's my default mode of thought, which I'm very happy for, because, well, I don't know. It must be really sad to think that no matter how much good you can do, you will always be lesser than some other person out there who is better just because they were born that way. It seems like a very easy way to diminish everything that you could possibly do. And it just seems saddening to me, the very idea of that. But that is what divine right also kind of implies, that some people are just born better because they have...
Any society that would give up a little liberty to gain a little security will deserve neither and lose both.
Okay, there was a bit of weirdness with the music, but Not archaeology. Paleontology. Because archaeology only takes 12 turns. Oddly enough, so does... No, Constitution is supposed to take that long. It's just weird that Constitution is placed after paleontology. Same as elixir and tonics after hot air balloons. Alright, let's get this revolution started.
Mary Anning is probably the most important unsung collecting force in the history of paleontology.
Oh, yes. She probably has collected more fossils than any other individual person. If not, most people. Does anyone have a biological build? I'll wait on it then. But yeah, it must be so sad to think that by accident of birth, you can never be better than another person. Just because they were born by some metric, by some arcane metric, better than you. Anyway, I think I'm gonna finish up around now. Oh, wow, last time I checked it was like 57 minutes and now it's even later. It's the recording session. There, okay, so... Oh, I already have those Okay, what am I missing for the Lyceum? Grammaticus. Okay, that's, in hindsight, extremely obvious. So. Right, now I can build dig sites. Okay. Nah, I'm sure I'll remember next time. So, I think that's long enough. My throat is starting to turn dry because I was actually constantly ranting the entire on one topic or another. But yeah, next I'll be researching explosives, then paleoarchaeology in order to finish up the various sciences for the time being. And then naval tactics for the sextant, so I can get that Bell Rock lighthouse finally. Plus a yacht club for fun. Probably gonna get and then well, free artistry, lettercraft, mercantilism. I'm not sure what else yet. I'm leaving it open to later stuff. Like I'm probably gonna do rifling at some point. I might do Constitution soonish. I don't know. Doesn't have any super duper necessary buildings or cultures. I mean, well, yeah. And economics requires stockbrokering, and for reasons I'm avoiding corporation at least until I can get that Bell Rock Lighthouse done, which practically replaces the Great Lighthouse. Sort of. I mean, it's only +1 trade route, but it's a free lighthouse in every city too, so I'll take it. It's close enough. Because I need to be careful on... Because if I can avoid certain things obsoleting, then that's better. Because it allows me to work things along better. Anyway, I'll go through the rest of the anarchy next session, as well as maybe get the great person. I don't know. But yeah, we are at 11 BC, close to swapping over to 80. And I've now got the egalitarian civic instead of proletariat. Where, uh, it's further up, isn't it? No, up there. Too far. Here, okay. So it gets me more birth rate, an extra trade route in all cities. Decreases, well, it does increase war exhaustion, but it does decrease unhappiness in general. And reduces the amount of commerce I obtain in every city, but, well, it's commerce, production, and food, but it does give me more culture. A lot more culture. And more maintenance costs, but, well, I don't need worker build improvement speed that much. And it allows me to build the Statue of Liberty, which is one free specialist in all cities on this continent. I mean, I need representative democracy for that one, but... And this effect. -1 production from employees in all cities. Well, okay. I mean, it's not amazing, but I like it more. Anyway, I have definitely gone on long enough. I'll see you again next time. Until then, bye.